Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie, Jessica.
So it's time to do our 1-minute book recs again. This is where we go over all the books that we read within the past week with 1-minute synopsises for each book. So let's do it. This is the last week of December, so it's the last week of the year. So fun times.
Yes.
Before we
But
get started, go for it.
make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and comment. We give away free books on our channel, so you definitely want to be subscribed. Follow us on Instagram for an extra entry.
Okay. So tell me about your reading week.
I didn't do much reading this week with
Well, yeah.
Christmas and everything, and my son is in basketball, so we had games to go to. So I read 6 books, but 2 were the end of a trilogy, so I have 5 to talk about.
Okay. I kind of have the same kind of a week. I mean, we had Christmas in the middle of the week, and then my son turned 18 2 days after Christmas. And so that was, don't laugh that I have an 18-year-old.
I'm just excited that you are old enough to have an adult son.
I hate you. I don't like that. Don't say that stuff out loud. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's weird. I pulled out his candles. I got special 18-year-old candles, and I pulled them out of the packaging, and then I broke down crying. So part of that was I was crying for my youth, but the other part is I cannot believe my kid's 18. But anyhow, because of that, because of all the stuff that we had going on, I didn't read as much. I read 7 books this week. I did have 1 5-star in there, but I did read 7 books. So,
All right. So
yeah.
you are first.
I am first.
Ready?
I am ready. Okay, so the first book that I read, I actually listened to. It is Hidden and Brutal Devotion, as a part of the Brutal Duet series by BJ Alpha. This was an advanced listener copy, so it was an ALC. So this is about Tia. Tia has had a pretty rough life. She's been in foster care. She had a foster brother that she was extremely close to, like as in extremely close to, as in like he took her virginity, extremely close. And after that happened, he ended up going away, going off to school. He knew that her foster father was creeping on her, but he had to go. He couldn't keep her, like, stay away. And then we fast forward a handful of years later. She is, she's out, she's doing her thing. She goes out to, I think it's a nightclub, and she runs into Cole, and she and Cole have chemistry right off the bat. It's not necessarily insta love, it's more like insta lust, where they just want to be together. Cole is like a womanizer, but there's something about her, and so they fall into this relationship. He finds out that she has a little girl who the state took away from her because she was 16 when she had the little girl, and so they're trying to get her back. This is a reverse harem. There is another brother that's involved, who gets involved in the situation, and it's not a brother, it's not blood brother. They're all foster kids. So it's a foster sibling, and then there's a third one that we don't meet until the end of the book. So this was 4.5 stars. The arc was on fire. The arc was 5, like the advanced listener copy. Like the audio was amazing. It just came out day before yesterday. It just came out like on Thursday, I think. So definitely go listen to it. The second one will be out here, I think on the 13th, 14th, 12th, early in January. I have it written down somewhere, but not with me. But definitely worth listening to. And the only reason why it was 4.5 and not 5 is because it ends on a cliffhanger. You have to get the it's a part of a duet. So I need the other half. So There you go. Okay, tell me about your book.
Okay. Let me get the timer ready. Okay, my first read of the week was A Pucking Wrong Christmas by C.R. Jane. This is a novella that takes us back to Ari and Walker and Lincoln. So this was a really fun one. You definitely need to read A Pucking Wrong Number and The Pucking Wrong Guy before you read this one, because you won't really get much out of it if you haven't read those other ones. So we see Lincoln and Monroe at Christmas time, and Lincoln discovers that Monroe hates Christmas. And so he sets off in his very Lincoln ways to change that. We also get to see Blake and Ari Ari again, and of course Walker, and it's just a really great setup for the new book that is coming out in January. I can't wait for the Pucking Wrong Date. So excited for that one. Okay,
The
back
audio
to
is
you.
coming out. The audio for A Pucking Wrong Guy is coming out in 2 weeks, and I'm excited for that too because I want to listen to it. She does great audio for those books. Okay, so the second book that I read for this week was Beautifully Insightful, and this was by Casey Lynn. So this is about Emily and Ryder. So Emily is blind. She's been blind since she was a little girl, and it's not that she got sick or something or that she lost her sight due to like an accident or whatever. She lost it due to a trauma experience. And so her doctors believe at some point it could come back, but she's kind of, she's just not, it hasn't come back at this point. So I think she's a senior in high school when the book starts out, and she wants to go to school. She wants to go to high school, and her parents, I think her dad was the mayor, or he was in politics, and her parents are very cruel to her, and they think she's an embarrassment because she can't see. So they finally allow her to go to this public school, or the school in town with all the other kids. And when she gets there, she has her best friend there, but she eventually meets Ryder. Now Ryder is there on scholarship. He's from the wrong side of the tracks. He's, tatted up bad boy, but she doesn't see that because he saves her in a situation, and they are just like instant, like, we're together. And so they fall in love, and this is only the first couple of chapters, and then we fast forward. There's a reason he leaves her, like he up and leaves, and she doesn't know what happened or where he goes. And then we fast forward a handful of years later. He is now in the FBI, and he has come back to town because there's a situation that he needs to investigate. And when he gets there, he wants to see her immediately, and things have changed big time. So I gave it 4.5 stars. I really, really, really enjoyed this book a lot. Okay, so what was number 2 for you?
Okay, so I went back. I started the Stay With Me trilogy. So I read this back at like the beginning of November. And then I needed to read something else, like for convincing or something like that. And I just got away from this series, the trilogy. And I really enjoyed the first book. So I'm like, I need to go back and finish it. And so that is what I did. So there's 2 more books in the trilogy, so I went back and finished that. So I'll just talk kind of about the trilogy as a whole, but more of a recap for the first book so I don't give away spoilers.
Okay.
Okay, so Stay With Me. I guess I'll just I don't know how to hold the books. This is about Mia and Ollie. Mia has a lot of hurt in her life, and she has been acting out and doing crazy things, like she drives her stepmom's BMW through the garage on purpose, things like that. So she ends up getting sent off to this, it's kind of like an institution. It's over, I think it's in London and or somewhere in England, and it's like an institution, but they're still going to school and things like that, but they have to be in their room and their rooms are locked at night, that sort of thing. So she's sentenced to this place for a couple of years, and this is where she meets Ollie. And with between this is just kind of their story. I really, really enjoyed the first book. There's a lot of things going on. I mean, they're in this institution together, and Mia has a Mia acts out a lot. She has a lot of hurt and trauma and sort of things. So she's always acting out and not making the best of choices. And Ollie is trying to help her, but then some things happen to Ollie, and there's like medication issues. So like personalities kind of change. And then there's like all this other stuff that's happening. And I was along for the ride until we got to book 3. And in book 3, really weird, more intense things happen. But it just started to feel like book 1 and 2 were really solid. Book 3 started to feel like the author had all these different ideas and just started throwing them out there. And it kind of started to feel a little bit like a train wreck. And then I can't give anything away, but something happens. And then that situation is rectified abruptly. That didn't really follow all of the books. And so it just, I don't know. But then there's parts of book 3 that I really liked. So I don't know. Book 3 was a little bit of a mess for me that made it hard to like really give this trilogy 5 stars. So it was a solid 4 stars. I would never tell somebody not to read it. I think it was really good. Just book 3 kind of threw me.
Okay.
So I was curious. I went to the reviews afterwards, and it seemed like people either loved the whole trilogy or they loved books 1 and 2 and felt like 3 was kind of a train wreck, but still enjoyed the whole trilogy. So I wasn't alone in my feelings.
Okay.
But anyway, so
Good to know, because I have the first book on my shelf. It's been there forever, like since 2020, forever, and I haven't read it yet. So,
you ready?
yeah, you ready for me to talk about my next book?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's hear about it.
Okay. So I read The Christmas Blanket. This is our buddy read for the month for our readathon for our live show. This is obviously a Christmas book. It's by Candy Steiner. It's not very long. I actually really enjoyed it. It's about River and Eliza. Eliza is coming back home to see her family at Christmas time to surprise them, and she gets stuck in a snowstorm and her car goes off the road and goes into a ditch or something like that. And the person whose house is just down the road, this cabin, is River, and River is her ex-husband, and they have a lot of things that have to be dealt with, and they get snowed into the cabin, and that's we go from there. So very short, very cute. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It was great for a Christmas book.
That was fast.
Well, I mean, you give too much away. You say anything else, really.
Well, yeah, and the book is pretty short.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
What else?
Okay, so my next book is The Summer We Fell by Elizabeth O'Rourke. And this is about Juliet and Luke. And I read this because I'm very excited for the next book that is coming out in this one. So I definitely wanted to start reading these. It comes out in January, but Jessica would not let me redo our TBR video. And I realized I missed it. So Juliet and Luke. Juliet is Juliet is dating Luke's best friend. And some things have happened in her life that led her to not living in a safe environment. And so his family has taken her in. So she lives with them, and she kind of almost works as like an indentured servant to them in ways, like helping. And like if somebody needs something, she's always like the first to get up from eating to go grab whatever's needed. So she's like this personal servant kind of. And they really just take advantage of the situation, and it really, really irritates Luke. And so this goes back and forth between their relationship when they're teenagers to present day. And for whatever reason, I don't want to give anything away. She is no longer with Danny, her boyfriend. She is off doing her own thing. She's become quite famous. Luke is also somewhat famous, and we see just flashbacks of what led them to where they are, and that some tragedies have brought them back together and forced them back into each other's orbit. And so this is them figuring out that maybe some of the reason that Luke was so irritated by things was because he had some feelings there and felt like she deserved better than what she was being primed for, which was to be Danny's wife. And Danny was going to be like a pastor, and she was going to be this like doting housewife. And he felt like she had so much more potential.
Okay. Okay. Would you give it?
4 stars.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so the next book that I read, I've seen it. It's been in my dark and disturbed reading group for a while. Everybody talks about this book, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. It's supposed to be dark and twisted and whatever. And let's talk about that one. So that is No One Has to Know by Karen Hart. Oh, hold on, I gotta adjust this. Okay, sorry, my hand got in the way. So this is about our heroine. She's a florist, Angela, and she has been working in this florist shop for a while. And then you have our anti-hero, or our main male character. He's a cop, and he's a beat cop. And so he sees her. One day she gives him this daisy, and like nobody ever gives him anything. And he talks about how amazing she is because she actually cared and she's very loving. Well, this starts off an obsession with her. Like he will climb into her apartment in the middle of the night and watch her sleep. Like this guy is not just a cop. He's a crazy cop. Like he's lost his mind. Like she goes out on a date and he freaks out and abducts her because, you know, he has killed for her in the past. And so um his name is Mason, or Officer Burns, as she'll call him every once in a while. So he kidnaps her, takes her to his hunting cabin, and keeps her there. And I mean, the book, it had like this great premise, and I'm reading it and I'm going, it's only been a week, and she's like okay with the fact that she's there. And I couldn't figure out why and what was going on. But then towards the end, we get a twist, and the twist makes you go, oh. So if you're reading it and you're like, why is this so fast paced? You can go back. Oh, you're drinking. Okay.
I'm
Anyhow.
sneezing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So
sorry.
if you're reading
I've
it
recovered.
and you're like, this is so fast paced, I don't understand why she's falling in love with him so fast, or why, just trust me, there's something coming that makes it make sense. I did give it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I listened to it. So it was it as dark and disturbing as I thought it would be? No. But I did enjoy it for what it was. So yeah.
He like climbs into her window and watches her sleep.
Uh-huh.
That's disturbing.
He is nutso. It's not the kind of cop you want watching your house, okay? Put it that way. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So I read Devastate by Pam Godwin. This is part of the Deliver series. So if you don't want any spoilers for that series, skip my review right now. If you're ready to hear about Devastate, go ahead and listen. So this is about Tate, and he is going on the mission to find out what really happened to Cammie's sister. So we know that Cammie's sister is presumed dead in this plane crash when she was taken, but nobody ever found her body, nothing like that. So Tate hires Cole Hartman, who is from another series that I won't mention right now. And Cole goes and tracks her down. And this happens at the very beginning of the book, so I don't think I'm giving away spoilers. And so now Tate and Van go to try and figure out what the heck is going on with Lucia, and try and get her back out of whatever situation's going on. But things don't really make sense because she seems to have a lot of free will in what she's doing. And so they're trying to get to the bottom of what is going on here. And I really, really enjoyed this. It was 4 stars, and I can't wait to read the next book. So when we get to the end, to Cole's book.
Yeah, that whole series is like, there's nothing like it out there. Very dark, like check all your triggers, but like there's just nothing comparable. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like taking breaks from it though. Like,
yeah, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
So speaking of not comparable, let's talk about my 5-star read of the week. Okay. You talked about this last week. It's my turn. And that is Echoes of Him by Karen Crompton. This is her newest release. This is number 2 in her Cold Neptune series. This is a rock star romance. This is about Cale. We've met him in the first book when he was in Daddy Reed's book. We see in that book he's kind of spiraling. He's got an addiction to alcohol, and he's a little messed up. He's got some issues. And so in this book, we immediately start out with him going to rehab. He was given an ultimatum by the band, by their manager, and now he is at rehab. And then he meets Sienna, who is his therapist. Now, Cale has a lot of issues. Cale has this inner dialogue that is like, the man had me laughing quite a bit. He's cocky, but he's funny. And I just fell in love with him. And then you have Sienna. She has been divorced. She has some issues that she's dealing with on her own. And she is not impressed by the fact that he's a rock star. Does she think he's cute? Of course, because he's adorable. But she's not impressed by the fact that he's a rock star. She's not impressed by, the regular, what the regular groupies would be. And when he tries to flirt with her, she like tells him to get out of her office. So she doesn't put up with his crap. And I just loved their story. It's a slow burn. So we don't see on page things happening until, I don't know, it's like 70% in or 65%. But their
But
relationship, the build up of that relationship is what you're reading this book for. Like, I loved it because when they get to it, you're like, yes, they have a foundation. Like they really get to know each other, and we see that.
it is not a slow burn where you're like, you get to when things like, I personally felt when I was reading the book, I never once was like, huh, we're like this far in
Oh
and what
no,
has happened? Things are happening.
no,
I was reading this book and I messaged you the other day and I'm like, I'm at the 41% and like these people have hardly even talked to each other. Like,
yeah,
what the heck is happening? I'm bored.
yeah,
And that is not what this book is. Like when
no,
you get to like when things do happen between the two things are happening between them. But when it
yes,
finally progresses to a little more, you're
on board,
like
sexy temps.
you don't even realize where you're at in the book. It just all
No,
flows so well and you're just so consumed. So I never once was like, what? Like
yes.
when's something going to happen? Like things are happening the whole time. You are sucked in.
And I have said this before about Karen's writing. I say this about Grace McGinty's writing. They both, for me, both of them write in a way that is, it sucks you in. It's not that it's relaxed and easy, but it's just, there's something about their writing that just flows. And it's relaxing to read, and it just sucks you in at the same time, and you don't want to put their books down. And I have found that
No.
with every one of Karen's books, and I don't know how to describe it in a way other than saying it just feels relaxed. But I think it's not that it's relaxed, it's just that the way she writes, you're just immersed immediately, and it's not confusing, it's not hard, it's not difficult, but her writing style just clicks, and it's just, oh, here I am, and before you know it, you're like, I'm almost done, but I want more. So yeah, definitely go pick this book up. It's so good.
Yes.
So
And
yes.
I don't feel like it's predictable either. Like in
No.
lyrics of her, some things happen and I don't, I'm like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Mhm.
And same with this book, Echoes of Him. Like there's some things that could definitely be a cliche,
But
but it's not at
no.
all.
Uh-uh.
And you're just like, oh wow. Like it's just,
Well,
yeah.
you want to know what my favorite part is in this book that I haven't touched on in any of our other videos? Is when the band comes to see him in rehab, and all the guys are giving Reed, who is our hero from the first book, a hard time because they saw the rope burns on is it Brinkley? He calls her Twink.
Friendly.
Brinley, thank you. On Brinley's wrists. And he talks about it because he is, I call him Daddy Reed because he's got some Dom tendencies in that first book. But the second book is so different from the first book, but yet it is absolutely amazing. You know, Reed
Yes.
has his personality and his thing, and then you got Kale with his, and they are polar opposites, but it works.
Yes. I messaged Karen about this because we got the arcs for it. And so I messaged her and just told her how, because one of the things she said is that it's so different from lyrics of her. And I was like, but that's something I actually really
Yes.
appreciate is we're in this world, but your characters are very different from each other,
Mm-hmm.
which in the real world, when you have like a friend group, or a band. I don't guess I don't really know anybody in a band, but like in a friend group, everybody is different. Like you and I have a lot of similarities, but
But
we're
we're
still
different.
very different in
Yes.
many ways.
But
Our
we complement each
personalities,
other, and that's how it works with it.
yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what you need. Like sometimes you get reading these series and it's like, okay, the same thing is
Quick.
going to happen. And
Yes.
I get that, there's a theme sometimes. Like there's a series that I've been reading that I really enjoy, but every single character in there ends up in their relationship through some sort of fake dating, fake marriage type thing. And it's still really good. But when your characters are different and the things that are happening to them are so different, it just makes the series so much stronger
Mm-hmm.
and better because you don't find that you're bored or you need a break
Exactly.
from it.
Exactly. So, Karen, you did good. I know this book was really hard for her. She struggled with it a lot, but in the end, I think it's her best writing to date. And I cannot wait for the next book in the series.
Yeah.
So,
So, Karen,
Karen, get ready.
Get your computer out.
We talk to her like that because we know that she watches our videos. She actually watches it on her TV, which is very scary to me when she sends me pictures of her watching us on her TV because we're big on the TV. But you better, let's go. We need the next one. So we'll help in any way, shape, or form just because we're putting that out there. Okay, so tell me about your next book.
Okay, my next book, Jessica.
What?
I went to the store, to Petco to be precise, because my son got a cat, and so now I'm the person that takes their cat to Petco.
Yes.
And I really had to go to the bathroom, and Barnes and Noble
Yes.
is next door.
Right
So
next door. Yes.
I went in there to go to the bathroom, but you always have to look at the books when you go in. And
Yeah.
this book jumped off the shelf into my hands, and I was forced to purchase it.
Crazy how that happens.
No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell us about it.
Yes, I would love to tell you about the book that jumped off the shelf into my hands. So this is called Enemies by Tijan. I think I'm saying that right.
I think so.
So this is apparently a hit or miss author for me because you had told me, I'm pausing my timer for a quick second. You had told me, I'm going to come back on. You had told me, you're like, but wait, I thought you didn't like her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I do, because I read The Anti-Stepbrother, which I really liked. Really like that cover too. But I read another book from her, Keon, I think is what it was called. And I was
Yeah.
Keon.
I don't
Is
know.
that
It's
it's spelled
Kian.
weird. It doesn't, I don't know. Anyways,
Whatevs.
phonemic awareness is not my strong suit.
We're aware.
Anyways, don't make fun of my speech impediment.
No, I just said that we are
I
all
feel
aware.
like
We
I have a
talk about
disability. I can't
okay.
get the words to form right, okay?
It's okay. There's nothing
Anyway, I read that book and I was really bored and I didn't care for it. So apparently hit or miss author. But this book, let's talk about it. I'm going to go back now.
Okay.
Okay. And start my timer up again. Okay. So this is about Juliet. No. This is about Dusty and Stone. And this is also told in flashbacks. And so we see that something has happened to Dusty. Dusty is leaving everything behind and goes to a new school, switches majors and everything. But she ends up in a party house with a bunch of girls that are dating football players. And it's just completely out of her like scene. She's the quiet kid. And so she is really just out of place at this house that she ends up being a roommate in. And Stone and her used to be best friends, and some things led to them not being best friends anymore in high school. And so he is in the same town as a professional football player, and he's like a football god. Everybody knows him and that sort of thing. So some tragedy, some things happen that kind of push them back a little bit into each other's orbit, and then a tragedy happens and Stone is there to pick up the pieces to some degree. And this is us seeing like why their relationship fell apart and them sort of coming back together. And I really enjoyed it. It was good. Solid 4 stars. It's definitely more of a palate cleanser. So like if you're like, ooh, I kind of want to be like in college and football and that sort of thing. The writing is fantastic. Like, but it's definitely a little more of a palate cleanser for me anyway. Cause I just read all over the place.
Yeah.
And I read the back of this book and I'm like, oh, this sounds really good.
Okay. Was that your last one for the week?
Yep, I'm done. Bye.
Okay. So I have 2 more. Okay.
I'll just send you over.
Okay. So then I read Joker. It's by Claire Shaw. This is an MC romance. This was free in the Stuff Your Kindle day. So this is about Jason and Carrie. So they are together when they're young. She gives him her virginity. Her dad is a part of the MC, but he's in prison. Her mom is addicted to drugs and does not take care of her or her little brother. And Jason's dad I think he's the president of the MC. So he he and her have their night together. They're in love. They've been in love for years. He knows she's endgame. But after that happens, CPS shows up at her house and takes her and her brother away from the mom who's not doing what she's supposed to be doing and puts them into care. So then we fast forward 10 years later. Now, Jason has become Joker. He's a part of the MC. And Claire has gone, or not Claire, Carrie. Carrie has gone missing. She's been missing for 10 years. They found the little brother after he went into foster care, but they couldn't find her. Turns out she was basically sold off to some guy who tortures and breaks women on camera. And she's been in this house being tortured, and it was very weird. She has a 10-year-old son because they made a baby apparently, and then one day this guy, like, everything like gets really bad, and she tells this lady who lives at the house to escape with her son and go find Jason. And so I gave it 3.5 stars. It had the bones to be really good, and there were times where I was really into it, but she gets over her trauma really fast. And there were just some things. Now, I know there's a novella that goes along with this after you read it, like it's a backup, and it's her dealing with some of her trauma when she and Jason are together, but just kind of fell short because,
It feels like you gave a lot away about what happens in that book.
no, there's so much more that happens in the book. It's just, I needed more. And here's like, these guys were MC, but they were more, no, they weren't Toys for Tots MC, but they sure as heck were not Hell's Angels MC. They just felt a little soft. Okay. So I gave it 3.5 stars. Check it out yourself. Tell me what you think. I don't know. Maybe it gets better as we go. I'm not sure. It's the first in a series. So then, because I read that one and I was like, damn it, I need a good MC. And I've been struggling to find a good MC lately. I went back and read Undeniable by Madeline Sheehan. This, I actually had read it in 2020 and I knew I liked it, but I forgot half the stuff that happened in it. So I listened to it yesterday and I was like, ooh, now I know why I like this so much. So this is about Deuce and Eva. There is a 18-year age gap between them. She first meets Deuce when she's like in kindergarten, I think. She's really young, and he is visiting his dad at Rikers Prison, and she's visiting her dad at Rikers Prison. So her dad is the president of an MC, and eventually Deuce becomes the president of a rival MC. They have some contracts where they start working together, but they see each other a few times throughout the years as they're growing up. She is obsessed with him from the get-go. By the time things take it, like they go to the next level when she's 18 or 16 or however old she is, I think she's 16 when he first touches her inappropriately. He's married with kids, and he's married with kids for the majority of the book that goes on here. He is a complete douche, and there's a lot that happens in here. This is gritty MC. There's a lot that happens in here that I would not put up with at all in real life, but in my MC, I need that. I need the gritty. I need the club girls. I need that, and I need the redemption arc for him. He has to grovel, but this was still a 4.5 star read. I still loved it, and I want to reread the rest of the series because I realized that I haven't read the last one in the series, so I want to do a reread of all of the books hopefully this week or next week, because I need to get to the last one. Okay. So that gave me some good gritty MC. They can't be nice guys. I need gritty. I just do. So, okay. I'm still on the hunt for another good MC. So that is our reading week for you guys. The last week of December, the last week of 2023. So, yay.
Okay, so make sure to leave us a comment. Let us know how your reading week was. And do you have a good MC book that we should be checking out? Because I'm in the same boat. I feel like I read all the ones that you told me to read, and I found some on my own that I really enjoyed. And I've just been kind of at a standstill on the MC as well. So let us know if there's something we should be checking out. And then make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us.
And one other thing, if you think about it, Mandy and I are going to get together later this week, and we are going to film our 1-year anniversary video. So if we had it in our community post, But if there is a question that you want to ask us for us to answer in the video, make sure to put it in the comments or put it on that community post. If you put it in the comments, just say question for our anniversary video so that we don't answer it, because we get really excited when you guys actually comment and then we just want to respond immediately. So just make sure that you flag it as that. But we would love to have more questions so that we can give you guys a fun Q&A video
Yes.
later. Yeah. So,
And we're
all right,
also
guys.
planning our 2024 video. So if there's
Mhm.
a particular video or trope that you really want to see us do, make sure you comment that as well.
Yes. So sorry, there's lots of homework for you guys, but we're just wanting to get your guys' input. So, all right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.